Come on. Man, you gotta turn that joint up, man. I know they can't hear it on that. Oh, you gotta do a redo, man.
Do it again?
Yeah, yeah. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Joaquin Thompson with the Daily Bread Radio Show. Got our intro, and I want to welcome everyone back to the show this week. We got a lot of information. We're going to pick up right from where we left off last week. And before we get into that, we're going to go ahead with start with our intro song. And as soon as we start with that intro song, we're going to give that a little bit, and then we're going to jump right into today's topics. Look forward to speaking to you all. Again, the number to the radio station is 678-381-1973. If you have a question, or if you have a concern, or if you have something that you want to talk about, by all means, call us at the station. Let us know how we can help you out. Are we ready now? Good evening, good evening, good evening again. This is Joaquin Thompson with the Daily Bread Radio Show. So we're going to jump right in and pick up where we left off last week. Last week we were talking about credit. This week we're going to continue to talk about credit and how credit affects you on a personal and a family, and even when you look at our communities. Credit really has a far-reaching effect on everything that we do, from the house that we live in to the cars that we drive, even the type of jobs that we have. Because now when you go out to apply for a job, not only are they going to look at your resume and look at your credentials and look at your experience, they're also going to be looking at your credit report. So it's very, very important for us to get a handle on credit, to really work with credit and make it something that we're doing on a daily basis, where you're not just hearing about it, but you're practicing with it. You understand how it works. You understand the components of it. So when you think about what we talked about last week, we talked about the 5 components of credit, which are payment history is 35%. The amount of debt that you have is 30%. So we just said, look at those two things, those 2 components alone is 65% of your credit score. Your third component is credit utilization. Credit utilization is 15% of your score. So you look at your payment history, the amount of debt that you have, and you look at your credit utilization, that's 80% of your credit score right there. So that is very, very, very important for you to understand those first 3 components. Fourth component is the new credit that you have, and that's when you go out and you apply for new credit. Like, okay, now I'm going to get a new car loan, I'm going to get a new mortgage, or I'm going to get an account with Macy's, or you're going to get an account where you can buy some furniture. That's new credit. And then the 5th component, which is credit mix. Now the 4th and the 5th component, both of those are 10%. So when you take all 5 of those components and aggregate them, you're at 100% of your credit score. So it's very, very important for you to understand how each one of those components work and how you work within those components. So when you think about payment history, and we talked about the debt amount, the amount of debt that you have, and you talk about credit utilization, the thing that you want to really kind of focus in on, what we talked about last week, was get you a debt elimination plan. Because you put a debt elimination plan in place, it's going to help you keep your credit history. It's going to improve your credit history. It's going to improve the amount of debt that you have. And it's also going to improve, hold on one second. We'll get some feedback from another studio. And it's also going to help you to make sure that you're able to improve your score. Because as you bring down your overall debt, you're going to have impact on all 3 of those major components. And if you stop applying for credit, then you're going to also have an improvement in your credit score and your overall score, because then that way you're not just haphazardly going out or impulsively just applying for things. Just, I'll just get this Macy's card out. You should have a plan. You should always have a plan when someone's going to pull your credit score, because something else that we haven't talked about that factors into your credit score is what we call an inquiry, a credit inquiry. Now, a credit inquiry is, you have 2 types of credit inquiries. The first type of credit inquiry is what we call a hard credit inquiry, and then you have a soft credit inquiry. So I'll give you a definition of both of them. Hard credit inquiry is this. You go out, you apply for a loan, you fill out a loan application, they send it in, they pull your credit. That is going to be a hard credit inquiry. Now, with that one, that's when you apply for a car loan, you apply for a credit card, you apply for a charge card, you apply for furniture at Rooms to Go. All of those are going to be hard credit pulls, and a hard credit pull over time will pull your credit down. It's recommended that you have 1 to 2 credit inquiries per year. And that may sound like a little bit, but when you think about it, once you get a lot more stable in your finances, you would guard your credit the way that you guard money. Because you don't want to just haphazardly go out and spend your money any kind of way without a plan, because that's what we talk about, having a budget. So it's the same thing with your credit. You don't want to just be walking in and out of stores or see something and you just jump right in and say, okay, I'm gonna go in and apply for this credit. So the thing you want to think about when you're doing a hard credit inquiry is think about the whole year. We're in 2017, we still got 6 months to go. Don't be out trying to improve your credit score, and then every time that you see something or you think you might be able to buy something, that you let them run your credit. It's going to bring your credit score down, because what most people don't talk about is credit inquiries. And what it says to the bank is this: sometimes they look at it as very negative, because now they think you're shopping, meaning you don't have the ability to maintain what you have, and you're trying to get more things. So you're already in kind of a credit struggle, and then on top of that, you're going out and you're applying for additional loans, you're applying for different things. And what it says to the banks and other lenders, when you really do need to get something, is this person is just shopping for credit. They're just out doing things. They're just trying to, it makes you look almost desperate to get new credit. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you plan for the credit inquiry, and all of those examples that I just gave you, those are what you would consider hard credit inquiries. Now, soft credit inquiry is sometimes you already have a card. So say you already have a card with Chase Bank, or you got a card with PNC, or whatever you may have. We talked about this last week. Periodically, that card company is going to monitor your credit. They're going to monitor your credit, and you'll see the inquiry on your credit report. So it'll pop up and it'll say PNC Bank or Bank of America, or whoever you have your charge cards with, or even if it's a car loan. Sometimes with car loans, Wells Fargo may come through and say, hey, let me see how he's doing. Let me see how she's doing. When you go in that way, that's a soft credit score. A soft credit inquiry. So when you have the soft credit inquiries, those don't really impact your overall score. But even with those, you want to be careful, because sometimes when people are trying to sell you something, they'll tell you like, oh, no, it's going to be a soft inquiry. We just want to check. And it's not going to be a hard inquiry, because they know by the time you leave the store or wherever you leave, where you're trying to purchase something, when you get home, more than likely you're not even going to pull your credit to look at it, because most people are not that active in managing their credit. So you really want to be cautious, careful with your credit. Don't let everybody pull your credit. Don't apply for everything. Have a plan. Be disciplined. Map it out. Like 6 months from now, if you want to buy a car, think about what kind of credit inquiries you can afford between now and the time that you want to buy that car. So those are credit inquiries. We talked about debt elimination last week. It's really going to help you overall. This week I want to talk to you about just different ratings. Since we're talking about credit, I really want to bring to you how different credit ratings work. And what I mean by credit ratings is when you pay your bills on time, your scores go up. But for whatever reason, if life happens, you have different credit scoring methods that are built into your credit report. And those scoring methods, what they do is you get different scores, or not scores, that's the wrong word, so scratch scores. You get different ratings. I guess that would be the best way to put it. Because you can have something that's, you pay your bills on time, your credit is going to go up. If you miss a payment, so if you miss a payment, meaning your bill is due on the 16th of this month, and you didn't pay it on the 16th. If you pay it, say the 19th or the 20th, you're going to get a late fee from the company, because that's just a way for them to generate income. Fees, banks, lenders, they know people a lot of times are not going to pay on time, so they put in late fees to generate fees. But if you pay 2 days late, 3 days late, a week late, 2 days, 2 weeks late, 3 weeks late, that's fine. The problem comes in when you go past that 30-day threshold. When you go past that 30-day threshold, you're going to have your credit lender, or your lender that has extended you credit on that auto loan or that credit card. They're going to report to the credit bureau that you have not made this payment in the last 30 days. Now, what does that do? When you start to have late payments on your credit history, say you go past 30 days, let's just stay there. When you pull your credit report and you look at it, it's going to have a 30 in it, and it's going to say that indication, that little signature, it's just 30. That's all. It's real simple. It's in a little box. It says 30. And what that means is you didn't pay this bill on time. Not only did you not pay it on time, you paid it 30 days late. Now that 30 is going to stay on your report for 7 years. So let's think about this. 50 years old, 50-year-old male. If I have a late payment today, that 30 is going to stay on my report for 7 years. Now, it's not going to impact me for 7 years per se, because really the threshold where scoring really has the most impact is 24 months. But over the next 24 months, that 30-day will impact my score. Not only is it going to pull my score down, but it's going to send a message out to lenders like, hey, he didn't pay his car note on time. Not only did he not pay it on time, he paid it 30 days late. So that way when you leave, going back to the inquiry, now you're in the jewelry store, now you're in rooms to go, they pull your credit, they see where you haven't made this car note on time, and you have a 30-day late, the first thing they're going to say is, if you're paying that bill late, you're going to more than likely pay me late. So the likelihood of you getting that account approved is very slim to none. 30-day lates on your credit report are probably one of the most significant, most impactful things that you can have on your credit report, with the exception of a collection. So with the exception of a collection, that's the only, that's one of the most derogatory things because it's so fresh. It's almost like getting a fresh cut. Sometimes when you get injured, when you first get the cut, it's traumatic. You got an injury, you cut your hand, you twist your ankle, whatever. So if you could think about it in that manner, when it first happened, open wound, it's gonna hurt for a while. But over time, it will heal, it will scab, it will repair itself, and then you'll be ready to go on. But what you can't do is, you can't have a 30-day, and then you go into the next code, which is a 60-day. Now, say you have that same car note, ran into some problems, got laid off, money got a little tight, things are not going the way you expected. Now, not only do you have a 30-day, but that 30-day, say the next month, you don't pay it again for 30 days, it's going to roll into a 60-month. And that becomes on your credit report. Now, the 30 doesn't go away or the 30 doesn't get replaced. What it's going to show is June, it was 30. July, it is 60. Now, the reason that's going to be even more impactful is going to continue to pull your score down. You're going to lose a significant number of points. It's going to pull your score down, and it's going to really put a weight on your score and your ability to pull it back up rapidly. The reason this show is very important for you is this. Although you may have those things that happen to you, what you can also do is you can take steps to counterbalance when you have those negative credit reports in your history. So what you have to do is you want to make sure that you can go back in and counterbalance that. And we talked about different things like lowering your debt amount, because your credit history at that point is impacted. But 9 times out of 10, if you're not paying your bills on time, especially in a 30-day and a 60-day scenario, that's a good indicator too that you may not have the funds available to pay on time. And if you don't have the funds available to pay on time, more than likely you're not going to have the funds available to significantly bring down your credit. So now you really put yourself in a very disadvantaged position. And what I call is you really have to go on the offensive, because when things are going, even when we get into those times in life when things are not going right, we're having some financial challenges, you also need to know how these things work, because you're going to need to go on the offensive. You're going to need to be able to put yourself in a position to say, hey, lost a job, got laid off, money's not coming in as much, or spouse got laid off, or we had a decrease in income. But what we need to do then is, instead of you letting it just come to you, you need to be playing offensive. So now you got your 60-day indicator on your credit report, meaning that it's been 60 days past due. If you go past that, if you go another 30 days and you haven't you haven't made that payment as promised, you're going to go into a 90-day. 90 days is the same thing. It's just going to report out to the credit. Your lender's going to report out to the credit bureau that it's been 90 days since you paid that payment on that due date. So if it was due in June, you didn't pay it in July, that's 30. Didn't pay it in August, that's 60. Didn't pay it in September, that's 90 days. Now, if you go through, 30, 60, 90, usually the next step after 90 days is more than likely you're going to probably get into a collection phase. Because what starts to happen is your lender starts to feel like you may not be in a position to ever come back and make that payment. So when I say go on the offensive, what you should do is when you're in those situations, what most people do is they run from the threat. And what I mean by the threat is you're not able to make a payment, you can't make things, you can't make your payments on time, you're having a challenge with your finances. So instead of you addressing it, picking up the phone, calling them, saying, hey, going through some problems, this is going on, we don't think that way. We go the other way, meaning we don't want to open the mail, we don't go to the mailbox, we don't look at the mail, we don't want to look at anything that's coming related to that debt because we feel like I can't deal with it, I don't want to deal with it, I'm stressed out. Somebody in your household is going to have to be on the offensive. Why is that important? It's important because of this. And we've talked about this on previous shows. You stop opening the mail, you may have a $500 check that somebody's sending you a refund from your mortgage company, but because you didn't put your hand in the proverbial sand, as we call it, you put your head in the sand and you stop being active in your credit life, you can miss out on a lot of things. So go on the offensive. Realize, don't be in denial like, oh, you have to manage through it. I mean, sometimes you get too tired to swim, but you can do like what we used to talk about, tread water. A lot of people can't swim far distances, but when we were kids, they always say, if you get in trouble and the water's too deep and you can't touch the bottom of the water, start to tread water if you get tired, and then you start back swimming again. So same thing with your credit history. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Now, when you get into a collection stage, let's talk about collections. Collections, when you get into a collections, what that's going to mean is your lender has started to take steps to take whatever loan that you have, and at this point, they're trying to just get as much as they can for the loan. If it's a car loan, it's going to roll into, you're going to be looking at a repossession. If it's something else, then you're going to be looking at a charge-off. And a charge-off is really like the next step after 90 days. If you get to a point where your lender has been trying to send you mail, they've been trying to reach out to you, you're not responding, you're not playing offensive, they start to get worried. They say, you know what, Mr. Jones is not going to pay us. We've been calling, they won't answer our calls, we've been writing, they're not opening our letters, we haven't responded. So we think we're going to need to write this off as a bad debt. And when we write this off as a bad debt, what we want to do is recoup as much of this money or this bad loan as we can, because then it becomes a bad loan. So your lender is going to reach out to companies that do collections and say you might owe them $1,000. They're going to tell the collection company, give me $400 on this, because that collection companies buy bad debt on percentages. So they're not going to give them 100% of what's owed. They might buy it at 30%. They might buy it at 20%. They might buy it at 10% if they bundle all of that company's bad loans. So if you're talking about a mortgage company, that's going to end up in like bankruptcy or a repossession. So you don't want to end up there, a foreclosure. So with a foreclosure, that's a whole nother, we're not going to talk about that today, but again, that's another bad debt. But a lot of times what companies will do, just say a credit card company, instead of them just using your debt and they know they're not going to more than likely be able to pick up on it, or you're not going to make good on the debt, they'll bundle all of the bad debts and they'll sell them to a collection agency. Now the next thing is going to happen in that process is you're going to start, now you stop answering the letters from your primary lender who extended you the credit card or whatever the loan was for. Now you're going to start to get letters from collection agencies. So ABC Collection Agency, they brought your debt. Now they're sending you letters. They're going to send you what's known as a demand letter. You need to respond to us ASAP. You owe Sprint, or you owe T-Mobile, or you owe PNC Bank, whoever you owe, X number of dollars, and we want to get paid for it. Now, what the collection agencies are going to do is they're going to try to get the exact amount that you owe to the company. Now, this is where you have to understand this process. Now, if you didn't have the money, if you didn't have $1,000 to give to whoever, Rooms to Go, now this collection agency, they're going to send you the same bill and say, hey, you owe Rooms to Go $1,000. We brought the debt. Send us $1,000. This is where you come in, and when you've been educated about how these things work, you on the offensive. You don't really have the money. That's why you went 30, 60, 90 days to a charge-off. So you may be money challenged, but then you on the offensive. You say, okay, I'm gonna give you some tips tonight, and this is gonna help you out with your credit. First thing you do is engage them. The first thing you do from a collection agency is you write them a letter back. Give yourself some time. When they send you a letter, what you do is you take their letter, you write them a letter back and say, hey, I'm disputing the validity of this debt. Can you send me some paperwork to prove that I owe this debt? Put it in the mail. You send it, certified, return receipt requested. I'm not going to go deep into that, but go to the post office, tell the postmaster that you want to send that letter, return receipt requested. Now, you know you owe the debt. I get it. You owe the debt. But sometimes in life, you're money challenged, and you still have to manage your well-being, which part of that is your credit life, right? So you send them that letter, you send a return receipt requested. Only thing you're doing is trying to buy yourself some time. A lot of collection agencies won't respond. A lot will. Usually when they buy debt soon, or what I call fresh debt, they're going to respond right away. Hey, here's the paperwork, because they have it right at hand because they just brought the debt. You owe Rooms to Go $1,000. When they send you that back, okay, I owe the debt. We verified that. Now we're going to step 2. Now we're going to phase 2. Here's phase 2. You reach out to them and say, look, having some money challenges. I really want to make good on this debt. Would you accept $200 on this debt? Because now what you're getting ready to start doing is you're going to be negotiating the debt you want to get the debt paid off. But if you can't pay the $1,000 and they've already sold the debt, now you're into a negotiation with a collection agency. You don't owe the collection agency. You owe this other company. Now, one of the things that I always said, because this happened to me, is I don't believe in you having the money to pay the $1,000 and you negotiate down for the $200. Because to me, that's just, it just creates a bad energy. Now it's like, I don't want to make good on it. I'm going to keep my money and I'm going to just take what you gave to me, and I don't have no intentions on making good on it. That's one scenario. So you can't have $1,000, $2,000 somewhere and just say, no, I don't want to pay them, unless it's life or death. I mean, and what I mean by life or death is you got to keep your lights on, you got to feed your children, but you can't have access to that money where it's not going to be detrimental to your well-being, and just choose not to make good on that debt. So, but if you don't have the money and you're really trying to get yourself, again, being in an offensive position, offer them $200. Collection agencies are in business to collect money, period. That's all they do. Collection agents are in business, or they work for collection agencies to collect money. So when is the best time to contact your collection agency? The last week of the month. Why the last week of the month? The last week of the month because why? Collection agents collect money throughout the month, right? So they're collecting from over here and over there and over here. They're tracking how much they collect. That last week, they're just like a car salesman. They're trying to get in as much money in the door before the 30th or the 31st, right off the bat. So they're more inclined to do a deal with you. Now, we're talking about phase 2. So you negotiate out, say, hey, can we do 200? You want to get on the phone because you don't want to be back and forth sending emails and letters. You just dragging this thing out. By the time you drag it out, you might run out the little money that you had. That might be gone. So what you want to do is get on the phone, get with your agent. They're going to be nasty. They're going to be disrespectful, just whatever. 200. They're going to say no, 800. You're going to say no, 300. They're going to say no, 700. When they get to a point where you know you can pay that amount, say y'all settle on 400. Here's the other thing about phase 2. Don't negotiate with them for a certain amount, like 400, and you don't have 400. because you're going to make the deal worse. Because then when they say, okay, let's do the 400 and you don't have the money, you stuck. It's going to be worse. Because now you had a good deal. You doing 40%. You paying 40% on the debt that you owe, right? They say 400. Have the money before you negotiate, and whatever amount that you have that you're willing to pay right away, have that money in your possession before you sit. Now that's phase 2. So y'all come to negotiation. And you say, okay, I can do this. What is that going to do for you? The first thing that you're going to do while you playing this offensive game about your credit is you want to keep yourself in the game. You want to stay in the game. Don't put your head in the sand. Don't stop opening the mail. Don't stop answering the phone. You want to stay in the game. So when you have the 400, now you're going to go to phase 3, what I call phase 3. Do not, let me say this one more time. Do not send anybody any money until you get something in writing that says, Mr. Jones, when you send us $400, we're going to consider this debt to be paid in full, period. Don't send them nothing. Let them email you. You're going to need something, because if you don't get that something in writing and you send them people them $400, guess what they're going to do? They're going to call you back the next month and say, good, you sent us $400. We asked you for $1,000. Where the other $600 at? And you're going to say, no. We negotiated. Who you talk to? You ain't talking to me. I ain't no John work here. I ain't no Sally, Mary. You owe us $600. They're going to keep after you on the collection. So that's phase 3. So what you want to do is make sure before you send anybody anything, do that. When you go to phase 4, you get to phase 4, you get your letter, you send them the money, you got your funds, everything is, you've documented everything, you sent everything, certified return receipt if you're dealing with mail, everything that you've done, I recommend money orders. So that way if somebody come back, you got your letter, you got your money order, here it is. Because the other thing in the collection game is other companies will come in and buy debt, and they may buy your debt not knowing that it's already paid for. So you need to have something. The other thing, now once you do that, being on the offensive, because we're talking about credit tonight, so we talked about the 30-day past due, 60-day, 90-day. We talked about the charge-off. We talked about collections. But here's the thing. Now you're going to stay in the game. This is going to keep you in the game. Once you pay a collection agency, I'm taking y'all, this is advanced financial literacy tonight, because I'm loving this. But once you do that and you pay that loan back, or I mean not the loan, you pay the negotiated amount to the collection agency, right? The next thing you're going to do is this. Now you're going to write them a letter and say, hey, check this out. I need you, because some collection agencies, they'll do it for you. When you pay it off, they'll report that you got a zero balance, right? But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Now you can write to them and say, hey, look, I need you to remove this from my credit report. And the collection agency is going to they're going to say, go on with that. We don't know you. Get away from me. Some collection agencies, they're going to say, you know what? We'll do that for you. We'll send the paperwork and send it in to say you paid it off. And you got it. Matter of fact, we'll pay it off. And that's something else you can negotiate up front while you negotiating how much you're going to pay back. If I give you this $400, will you take it off my credit report? Will you remove it? Some collection agencies are going to say, yeah, we'll remove it. We don't have we want the money. We don't care about your credit. You go with that. So if you get savvy enough and you practice and you listen to these things that I'm sharing with you and you research it, you still playing offensive. You always want to be in the game. You're not losing. You just getting, sometimes during the game, you might just be behind, but the game ain't over. The game is always going on until you die. Just understand that. As a living, breathing person in this world, especially in the U.S., the game is going on until you die. That's all it is a game. So don't take it personal. Don't get all worked up, stressed out, have a goddamn, heart attack, die, worry about some credit. It's just money. It's just debt. It's just collections. But going back to my point, if they don't take it off, here's what you do. Now we're going to phase 5, going to a whole nother level. You sit down and you write you a nice little dispute letter to your to your credit bureau. Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Send it to all 3. write you a nice little letter, and I'll post a sample letter for you that you can use. Very simple verbiage, very simple wording. Dear Mr. Collection, dear Mr. Credit Bureau, Equifax, I like Equifax, they're pretty good. Dear Mr. Equifax, please, this is what you say, I would like to dispute the accuracy of the collection with ABC Collections for the amount they're reporting. You could just say something like that, right? You send it in, return receipt requested, you keep all your information in there. Now here's the thing, when you do that and you send it to Equifax is going to reach back out to ABC and say, hey, it's saying here that his balance is $400. Is that valid? Or it says that this balance was paid off. They have 30 days. Listen to this. This will change. This one little piece right here change your life with this show. They have 30 days to respond to that inquiry from the credit bureau. ABC. Now, when you send stuff to ABC and they've already collected the money, they're not really staffed to be going back and forth with no credit bureau, because they're in business to do what? Collect money. They're in collections. They done collected the money. They don't care nothing about that. So when Mr. Equifax send them that inquiry, 9 times out of 10, they ain't even going to respond. When they don't respond, guess what happens? It comes off your credit report. Now all of that collection that you had from ABC that was pulling your score down, guess what? Now that collection is gone. Those are 5 phases of collections. And that's something that you should know, everybody in your household should know, your children and your children's children should know that. You know why? Because we all are going to ebb and flow in life. Things are going to be up and down. You're going to be in and out of relationships, in and out of jobs, in and out of life, in and out of money, bad deals, good deals. And the way that I've been thinking about this, what I shared with you all tonight, think about this. We, in America, right now, there's a lot of talk about police violence, people taking advantage. Let me break it down for you all. This is what's really happening. Do you realize that a lot of people are losing their life in this country to police brutality? Everybody heard everything in the news this week. The officer got acquitted in the Philando Castile case, right? Everybody's in an uproar. This is ludicrous. This is crazy. We saw the video. You saw the man say, I have a weapon. I'm registered. We saw all of that. Everybody saw that. They still took it to trial. The officer got acquitted. So everybody's upset. I'm upset about it. That's crazy. That's crazy. How could they do something like that on a video? But here's something that's deeper than that I want you all to think about. And I want you all to pass this on to the people that you're thinking about. In this country, the economy, this capitalistic economy that we're living in, we'd have gotten our entree. People off of black economics and what I call black non-economics, there are businesses that are thriving on our ignorance. Period. Point blank. Because we're not taking the time to learn the game. We're not taking the time to take the risk. We're not taking the time. We think through things. I don't want to do that because I don't want to file bankruptcy because do what's best for you and your family. Because I heard, this is a different term that I heard this week. The opposite race, they eating off of us. They eat off of us. Everything from cars to goddamn clothes to jewelry to the banking industry. This is what a guy told me this 6 months ago that sells advertisements. He said, you want to know who are important, look at the commercials on the shows that you're watching. He said, look, he said, don't look at the show. Look and listen at the commercials that's on the show. He said, I've been selling radio advertising for 20 years. He said, if you listen to black radio stations and their formats, I don't care if it's in the morning, the evening, what do you hear? Party at the compound, such and such, gonna be at the come ride, Mandingo the Bull. Come over here, we gonna have free happy hour drinks, blah, blah. You turn the dial. He said, if you turn the dial and go to the opposite race radio, what do you hear on there? Charles Schwab, Bank and Bank, Investors Are Us, Estate Planning Is Us. They talking about money, they talking about making money, they talking about being capitalists, and we partying and doing, and then guess what? 20 years later, that's going down into our next generation. We got to cut this foolishness out, bro. So I'm upset about police brutality. I got a son, 25 years old. I'm a 50-year-old man. I'm scared too. But guess what? That's just one type of goddamn brutality. The other brutality is financial brutality. And that's something that we haven't been serious in addressing that. Kids we sending kids to college and they graduate from college and don't know nothing about credit. They don't know nothing about credit, and going in to a job interview with a degree in their hand, and guess why they didn't get the job? Because their credit score was low from a pizza that they ordered on a card that they didn't need, and they didn't pay the payment. Now they got a 30, a 60, and a 90-day on a goddamn pizza bill, went to collections, pulling their credit score down, and when they go in to get the job, the opposite race is looking at their credit report and said, nah, we're not going to hire him. His credit bad. When they say his credit bad to us, that's just another form of discrimination. Period. Period. I'm talking about period. Now, if you don't believe me, go out, talk to some of these college. Why we got all these college students? Before, they told us we need to get educated. Now we going to get educated. Guess what they say? Now they done switch the game up. Before, it was like everybody got a high school diploma. You go get you a college degree, you good. You can get you a job. You can at least get a job. You got a college degree. Bruh, people don't even realize their credits. They pulling people credit. And if you in the banking industry, if you in banking, forget about it. I don't care if you went to an Ivy League school. When they pull your credit not right, forget about it. Forget it. Because the first thing they gonna think is, if it's a black man or woman, your credit not strong, and you going to Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, you know what they gonna say? You gonna probably come in here and steal this money because your credit got darn jacked up. And the way that they explained it to me was this: people who have compromised credit are more prone to steal. Why? Because they desperate, they don't have the means, and they want to get that money. So you know how tempting it is. If you don't have no money, it's like an alcoholic. If you try not to drink and you work at a liquor store, they know you're going to try to go somewhere and take a little, just get a little sip, right? It's the same thing with money. So we got to get serious about this. I mean, I'm passionate. I'm giving it to you all the way that I got it. I'm giving it, this stuff that I talked to you tonight about, I done did this multiple times. Now, I won't say hundreds of times because I'll be lying, and I'm not big on lying. But I'm going to tell you this. I done use this from everything from a repo to a collection, 30-day, 90-day, student loan. I don't care. I don't care what people think about that. What I care about is this. I learn from it. I learn from it. So even if something happens today, tomorrow, next month, I don't want to go through it. Nobody wants to go through heartache. Nobody wants to go through hardship. No, but I tell you what, if it happens to me and mine, talking about my wife, I see you on, love you, Tanya, I see you on, my daughter, I see my daughter on, Ashley, love you to the max, my son, Joaquin, my other daughter, my friends, Antonio, I see you on here, Brian, I see you on. If it happened to anybody that I know, first thing I'm going to say, nah, bro, we're going to do this way. But if I don't know and you don't know and something like that happen, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We ain't going to do nothing. We're going to continue to get taken advantage of by this system that we are forced to work in, because you can't say you ain't going to be in it. You in it. You born into it. When you turn 18, you in it. You want a car? You in it. You want a house? You in it. You want to invest? You in it. You want your credit? It's jokers in jail. Listen to this. It's people that's incarcerated that won't be out for another 10 years. They got a 10-year sentence. Do you realize they still got a credit score? Do you realize people that's incarcerated, if they got a social security number, they got a credit score? Do you realize these men and women are coming out of jail with credit? Credit. Stellar credit. I was in jail for 3 years. You ain't brought nothing. You ain't had no credit inquiries. You ain't tried to buy nothing. Guess what? You good to go. Let's go. Let's go. But we ain't even thinking like that. We got to start thinking on another level to deal with this. And when we start doing it, people say, we can't come together. Yes, we can. I said that on the first show. That's a bunch of baloney. Woo. So, we at the top of the hour. Got 5 minutes left. This is what we got. I hope you all got this. 30, 60, 90. You got your collections. You got your charge-offs. I told you the steps of what to do. Always stay on the offensive. Even when you think you're losing, do not put your head in the sand and say, okay, because you could have the very money that you need. I'm gonna share something with you all. This is a true story. Happened to a friend of mine, real close friend of mine. Short, I'm gonna give you the short version. His house is in jeopardy of going into foreclosure. He was talking to the bank. The bank was like, ain't nothing we can do. All right? He got pissed off with the bank. Said, forget the bank. Whatever. Let's go. Pack it up. Y'all can have the house. This joker, the bank started trying to call him. He wouldn't answer the phone because he was pissed off. He was mad and upset. Bank calling. They call him day, night, morning, at his job. They just call him. He's I ain't answering that goddamn. I don't. Here's what happened. The bank finally reaches him and says, hey, you know what? Some kind of way, now he didn't apply for that. Some kind of way, this is how they phrase it. Some kind of way, we received a document that said that we have the ability to pay off your second mortgage, and you would only have to pay the first mortgage if you want to keep the house. He said, what? He said, yeah, we gonna pay off. Listen to this number that they told him. They said, we're gonna give you, and this is a true story, we're gonna give you $48,000. This is the mortgage company. We're gonna give you $48,000 and pay off your second mortgage, and you just gonna have a first. Matter of fact, the only thing you need to do is fill out this paperwork, send it back to us, and we're gonna send you the deed. He told me about it. I said, man, you tripping, right? You know what he did? Pulled out the deed. He said, bro, that's the deed from the county. I said, wow. So this week, y'all thought y'all got away. I'm like a professor. Y'all didn't do y'all homework. Y'all thought I was gonna come in here and not give y'all some books for this week, but I came this week with 3 books because we talking about credit. So the first book I want you all to take a look at it's called The Ultimate Credit Handbook by Jerry Detweiler. This is an older book. It's a good book. It talks about all the stuff we talked about tonight and some other things. You got to read more. You got to read more. So we talking about credit, pick up some books from Amazon. If it's not the Ultimate Credit Handbook, go out there and Google books on credit. You're going to probably get 50. Pick up one, buy one, invest in yourself, read it. That's one you got to have. This book, now the other thing I was thinking about when I came in tonight was, I'm not just telling you all to go and get books just to get a book. These are books that I done read. So this book here is like kind of in 2 pieces because I done read it so much. And this is a life book. This is a book by Robert Allen, and it's called, you definitely need a copy of this because this book here, it's called Multiple Streams of Income by Robert Allen. You want to get a copy of this book. The reason you forget that stain, because there's a little grease on there, but I've had it probably about 20 years. This book right here, it'll change your life. reason to change your life, because he talks about all the different things that you can do while you still got your 9 to 5, where you would have more than one stream of income. Why is that important to credit? That's important to credit because of this. If you have a shakeup at your job, but before you start to have the shakeup at your job, you went ahead and started you a little company. You got a little landscaping company, or you got you a little flower business, or you sell digital prints on the internet, or you do whatever you do. Not a hustle, but a business. So you got it registered with the Secretary of State, got it registered, got your EIN from the IRS. You have a business. You're generating income. We have the internet now. Do you realize there's billions of people on the internet that you could be selling goods to while you still got your 9 to 5? So if something comes up and they say, hey, we're doing away with your division. Okay, you still got some income. It may not be the same income, but you got some in, because some is always better than zero. Okay, some is always better than zero. And I'm telling you from experience. And if somebody says, well, hey, I can't start a business, yes, you can. Because I live in Georgia and I'm from Florida. And all I see is grass. You can go to the pawn shop, get you a lawnmower. I promise you, I'll challenge anybody on this, on Facebook or on the air. If you don't think you can start a business, you call me. I guarantee you we can get you a business started in a week. Because I know it's more people turning 65 every day. They call them baby boomers. They're not going to get out and cut no grass. You can get you a lawnmower from the thrift store or from the pawn shop, and you can have 20 yards, 20 yards in less than a month. That's $1,000. Oh, that ain't a lot. It's more than you making now, because right now you're making zero with your side hustle. So when they start talking about multiple streams of income, you need to have 10. You know, you don't want to be a jack of all trades and master of none. I get that, but if you got your 9 to 5 and you settle, get your little landscaping company. You got your landscaping company, you go ahead and do something else. I know we're at the top of the hour, but one of the things that I always was amazed by, and people that live in the Cobb County area, they'll know what I'm talking about. It was a brother, they called him Mr. T. Mr. T, he was so impressive to me because Mr. T was a big old muscular joker, like the real Mr. T. Like if you saw a big bald head joker, I said, God dang, I mean, a manly man, a man's man, dude, like, I mean, he buff. Mr. T had a 9 to 5, and he worked all week long, right? On Saturday, Mr. T, he got rented him a spot in Cobb County, and this man would be in there, boy. That man, we putting them, got there pressing curls on them, got there women all weekend. That man had him a beautician shop. And if you went, I ain't say a barber shop, he would have them got there women lined up, and he'd be in there curling their hair, making that money all weekend. And then on Monday, he put them boots on, and he back to got there and work. And he did that for years. So the moral of the story is, get you something else that you can work on. Hopefully, I shared some stuff with you tonight that you feel like you could take away. Antonio, he was talking about, okay, well, Martin Luther King, March brutality, thought, yep, plan to march against, bruh. People don't even realize that's really it's a book you can get. Man, listen, I got choked up when I read that, Antonio. You all Google Operation Breadbasket. Google it, because that's what people say now in the barbershop. If somebody don't believe something, Google it. Google, I challenge you, Martin Luther King Operation Breadbasket. Google it, and you will see that Martin Luther King was setting up an economic, he believed in self-reliance, so did Marcus Garvey, and these people, he was talking to people about being self-reliant, not reliant on other people. So that, that civil rights, awesome, gave us a lot of opportunities. That nonviolence, I hate it, I hate you, and this, that, and other. But when he started talking about that money, when he started talking about, look, I can polarize all of these people together, and we can pool all this money together. That's a bad mix. That's fatal. Now that right there is fatal. Now, you go back and you do your research and get the real history on what he was doing, the Black Panthers, what was they doing? The Fruit of Islam, what did they talk about? Self-reliance and economic stability within your race. Stop letting these people take advantage of us. We're at the top of the hour. I love you all. I thank you for tuning in. This is show number 11 of 1,000. I want you to keep track too. 11 of 1,000. We're going to keep doing it every week. Every week, Daily Bread Radio Show from 8 to 9. If you want to reach out to me, you can send me an email, dailybreadradioshow@yahoo. You can send me a tweet, and that's still an ongoing joke because I'm trying to respond to people. But you can hit me at Joaquin Thompson Sr. at Daily Bread Radio on Twitter. So I'm practicing. I'm not good, but I'm practicing. I'm on Twitter. You can definitely hit me on my email. And next week, we're going to continue this conversation about credit. We're going to get serious about credit. So we, not only us, but our children and our children's children, you'll be able to pass that information on. Because one thing you can't do, you can't pass on something that you don't have. That's information, money, assets, whatever you got. But what you can pass on is ignorance. Believe that. Y'all have a great evening. Love y'all. Peace. Now you gotta play the jingle first, man. You gotta play the jingle first. Now I gotta go out like.
Jingle come on after that.
Oh, it come on after this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta play your song first.
Read some of this stuff, man. Let's see what Tony talking about. You right.
Tell your children, this is the daily bread.
Man, what am I gonna do with you, man?
You better listen to that. You better listen to that. You better listen.
What is that?
You better
Oh!
You better listen to that. You better listen.
Oh!
You better
That's
listen.
old school up.
Look. How you gonna do?
That intro is crazy, man. I love it, man. I love it. Hey, bro, you better use them goddamn steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Man. Tony, I gotta get you back up here too. Love you, mama. Love you, Ash. Love you.